all my stuff laid out. Look at how much soju I'm bringing to Vegas.
Look at that. She loves the soju.
Everybody loves soju. It makes the perfect gift. I wish you were coming.
Yeah, me too.
시작.
Tomorrow I'm heading to the U.S. to visit my family. Unfortunately, I am flying alone because
My U.S. visa was denied.
to understand fully the situation, we should start from the very beginning.
So 2013,
13.
I applied the student visa to enter the flight school in U.S.A. I got an acceptance from the flight school, so all of the documents ready. So I applied it to like student visa, so U.S. embassy, but I denied it.
What did they tell you with your visa?
They say that I don't have a like strong bond in Korea. Seems likely like I'm a like high potential to stay in the USA legally or illegally, whatever. The immigration officer said if you want to study, you do have done it already.
A little bit of background about like why you hadn't studied already. After you graduated high school, you went to 1 year of university, and then you decided that your major wasn't what you wanted to do. Well, then what did you do?
I went to the military service for 2 years.
Every Korean male has to do a mandatory military service.
When I finished my duty, I went to Canada for about 2 years for working holiday. Yeah, after that I came back. I really want to be a pilot like since quite a long time. I want to go to the flight school, so I prepare the like English test in Korea.
And then that's when we met. You came back from Canada in December, and then we met in May. We worked at the same private academy. He was a librarian and I was a teacher. And at that time you were studying to get a better English score or to be able to get into the school that you wanted to get into. And then we started a relationship. So he kind of waited for me. Towards the end of my contract, you applied so that you could go to school. They said, you don't have enough documents. We don't believe that you're going to return to Korea. So we got a lot more documents ready for the next time. And then you applied and they said, nope, you need more. And so we didn't really know the system well. We just knew it's getting towards the end of my contract in the start of your school. Then you tried like a third time. That's when they told him if you wanted to go to school in the US, you would have done it already. Which is absolutely ridiculous because it's not possible to just go to school right away. Like Koreans have to do their mandatory service. And then of course you want to travel and see the world because in Korea, as soon as you finish university, you just start working. And that's kind of your life in Korea. So naturally it makes sense that a lot of people want to go and they want to travel the world because when you get a family and you start working in a company, it's just not really an option anymore. It was really upsetting when he got his final denial because I had already flown back to the US and I had looked at an apartment that we had found that we finally liked, and I put down a deposit. Like we were ready. We were really sure that we were going to get your student visa because there's no reason why you would stay in the U.S. illegally. Like you genuinely wanted to go to school there, and that had been your plan since before we had met. My school had bought my plane ticket back to the U.S. You got your final like denial 3 days before I was supposed to fly out. So it was like this big scramble. Like I had to find a new job, and it was just really crazy because
It was really stressful too.
It was so stressful. Then you've just like continued studying here in Korea. Yeah. Fast forward, a year later we got engaged. Of course, like you're Korean and I'm American, so naturally we want to have weddings in both countries. This time we're definitely gonna get a tourist visa because we're gonna apply like once we're married. We thought for sure, of course, like we're married, we're just gonna go and visit my family and come back. Now that I'm saying it out loud, I realize like how naive we were about trying to get this visa. We're like so honest. We're like, we're gonna get it. There's no way we're gonna get denied because we have no intentions of staying illegally. We bought our plane tickets because we're like, if we have a round trip ticket, then I mean, obviously that helps prove that you're going to return to Korea.
Yeah.
So you had bank statement and housing contract and
Employee certification.
You worked at the U.S. base at the time.
Yeah, right.
So it kind of felt like you have a job with like the American base, so of course you would come back. We had everything prepared, and this time I contacted a congressman from Washington State, and I explained our situation and said, look, we are just trying to go to the U.S. His family plans to come with us just for visiting. Because a lot of people in Korea, if you marry someone from Korea, you have a wedding in Korea and you also have one in your home country. You don't legally do the paperwork in both countries because it's illegal, but you just go and have the ceremony with your family and friends to share that special moment in your life. We had just said we were going for tourist reasons, which was true, because we're not going to say we're going to have an unofficial wedding ceremony, because then of course they're going to think we're going to legally sign the documents and illegally immigrate, but that's not what we're doing. We submitted paperwork from my family, like letter of invitation, and we like wrote all of the addresses of where we were staying, including like with my uncle who's a U.S. Marshal. If my family's in law enforcement, obviously they're not going to illegally let us stay at their house. We said, we'll do anything, you know, we were willing to like call in, check in, whatever you need us to do, like we are willing to do it. The day of your interview, I said, all right, I'm gonna go. This is going to determine if we get to have a wedding in front of all of my family and friends in the US. We're sitting there and there's one particular woman who keeps denying every person that walks up to her window. I'm like, oh God, please don't get her. He doesn't tell me that he's had her before. So he gets into the line when it's his time, his number's about to get called, and she calls him up. And the first thing she says to him, I'm sitting close by so I can hear what's happening. The first thing she says to him is, have I denied your visa before? And he says, yes, you have. Immediately, I'm like, no, this is the woman who's denied everyone. At that moment, I just had a feeling it was going to get denied. At this point, we were married. We thought that was going to be a strong point, but it's not at all. Having a relative in the U.S. or knowing people in the U.S. is a really negative point if you're trying to get a non-immigrant visa, because automatically you are guilty until proven innocent when it comes to U.S. immigration. If you say you know someone in the U.S., they start to think really carefully about your case. Like maybe you will try to illegally stay with your relatives. We can tell that it's not going in a good way. And then he says, but my wife is here. She's an American. Like we're just going to see her family with my family. And she looks at me and she goes, this has nothing to do with her. My blood started boiling because this has everything to do with me. Like I get that your non-immigrant status has nothing to do with me, but for me, this is something so personal. This woman is denying my...
At the time when she denied my visa, we are pretty upset. After that, we decided to, okay, we are not going to apply the non-immigration visa anymore.
So when she denied the visa, it wasn't just a denial for you, it was a denial for me, because that was the end of my ability to get married in front of all of my family and friends. We had already planned the wedding in the U.S. for the most part. This is like a month out from the wedding because we didn't want to plan too far in advance, because it would seem like maybe we were preparing to move illegally. Like we just wanted to do everything the correct way. And so when we found out we weren't going to have the wedding, like it was just so hard. So it's like a month out. My parents don't have passports, and if you're a U.S. citizen, you know it takes a long time to be able to get everything together and like get your passport, and maybe you can expedite it, but it was just a really frustrating time, and like everything had to scramble at the end, and they couldn't come to my wedding. Only my grandparents were able to come, which was really nice, but we thought for sure that, you know, I'm an American, like why would they deny it? But I'm a negative point for him trying to get a non-immigrant visa because they think that he's more likely to immigrate there because he has an American wife. When we want to move to the U.S., we'll get a green card. Like, there's no other way about it. But, I mean, I guess a lot of people obviously go about it in a different way and in an illegal way. So, unfortunately, people like us suffer because of that. After the second student visa denial, we had contacted immigration lawyers at that time in both the U.S. and Korea. Every single one of them said, just get an immigrant visa. Just get a green card and go twice a year, and then you will be fine. But there's a risk if an immigration officer catches you, they can take away your green card, and that's just not something that we want to risk. I just can't imagine if, they take away your green card, then what are we going to do? It takes a long time to apply and to get it. They had told us it's basically impossible for you to get a non-immigrant visa once you've been denied. So if you're denied one time, every single time you apply after that, it becomes more and more difficult because you look desperate to go to the U.S. We don't know if we're going to have children in Korea or in the U.S. If we do have children in Korea, I can take them to the U.S. to see my family, but he still can't come. So we're not able to go to the U.S. together until we decide to actually move there. When we decide to get an immigrant visa, the green card, our non-immigrant visa denials will not affect the immigration visa because they're completely different. They say that they think he's going to illegally immigrate, so when we apply for his visa to actually immigrate to move to the U.S., it's something completely different. Having an American spouse is beneficial if you want to get a green card, an immigrant visa, but not if you want a non-immigrant visa. And Koreans typically don't have to get a visa. They don't have to get a visa exactly. It's called
visa. It's kind of you don't need to extra visa. If you have an electronic passport, then you can apply that program or system, then you can easy to enter the state.
But if you get denied a visa one time for any reason, student, tourist, whatever, then you automatically are exempt from the U.S.A. So he can no longer apply for the U.S.A. visa waiver program. So until we are ready to move to America, unfortunately we cannot travel together.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, but
Yeah.
there's a lot country we have to go together.
Maybe we'll just have to have some family and friends meet us there. So if you've had experience with visa denial, or you know someone who's had this happen to them, comment below and share your story with us, because we know we're not the only ones. And we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Bye.